Here's your wrestling news for October 15th, 2025. Your headlines for today include major clarity on Seth Rollins' real injury, surgery details, and WWE's backup plan revealed. Seth Rollins' injury worse than expected, pulled from WWE events. What's next for the Visionary? Andrade El Idolo's status in AEW remains a mystery after sudden disappearance. Tatum Paxley outlasts 19 competitors to earn NXT Women's title shot. Two major NXT errors leave fans baffled. Did WWE Creative overlook this? Major surprise return stuns fans. Nobody saw this coming. NXT Halloween Havoc gets spooky with Day of the Dead match announcement. WWE faction just got bigger. New member joins the group. WWE tag team scene heats up. The Hardy Boyz set for massive challenge. Josh Briggs humiliates Matt Cardona in his WWE return match, and more. WWE Raw ended with a stunning twist as Seth Rollins was ambushed by Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, an angle that, as we later learned, is directly connected to Rollins' legitimate injury. According to PW Insider Elite, the current belief within WWE is that Rollins may be on the road to shoulder or rotator cuff surgery. While WWE has yet to issue an official statement, the internal concern appears to be growing. Adding to the speculation, Rollins has now been pulled from WWE's upcoming Super Show tour in Japan, where he was originally scheduled for 2 matches. On October 17th, Rollins was set to defend the World Heavyweight Championship against CM Punk, followed by a 6-man tag team match on October 18th, teaming with Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker against Jey Uso, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Punk. Both appearances have since been canceled, further fueling concerns that his shoulder injury is more serious than initially believed. In an update, PW Insider reported that a high-ranking WWE executive has confirmed Rollins is legitimately injured, clarifying that this situation is not part of any storyline. However, the full extent of the damage remains unknown, and as of yesterday, no final decision has been made on whether Rollins will be forced to vacate the World Heavyweight Championship. This uncertainty follows earlier reports that internal trust issues had already developed over previous injury angles involving Rollins, where certain creative members felt misled about what was real and what was scripted. That history has now added another layer of tension behind the scenes. Right now, WWE is walking a fine line, balancing the reality of Rollins' injury with the ongoing championship picture. Until an official update comes from the company, the status of the World Heavyweight title remains in limbo. With CM Punk confirmed as the new #1 contender, the major question now is, what happens next? Will Rollins be forced to relinquish the championship? Could WWE announce a tournament leading to Saturday night's main event to crown a new champion? What direction should WWE take from here? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Andrade continues to keep fans guessing about his status, as new reports suggest a planned match with a former WCW star has been quietly scrapped. According to ex-user @Foos, Andrade was originally scheduled to face LA Park, the original WCW La Parka, on October 26th under the Mucha Luchas Atlanta banner. However, that matchup was abruptly dropped without explanation. Instead, the event announced Mascarita Sagrada versus Demas to fill the slot, with no official statement provided as of this writing regarding why Andrade's bout was cancelled. The uncertainty around Andrade's situation deepened when Brian Alvarez addressed his absence during a recent discussion about AEW's Don Callis family and the company's ongoing crossover with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Alvarez pointed out that Andrade has not been featured or even mentioned on AEW programming in weeks. You saw the Don Callis thing, right? The birthday party thing? So they did that. Don turned 62. All the Don Callis family members were there, except for Takeshita, who was in Japan, and the mystery man Andrade, who is also not mentioned at all anymore. Alvarez added that his sources within AEW Creative have been left in the dark regarding Andrade's appearances. He also confirmed that Andrade was pulled from the scheduled match against LA Park, and that AEW is currently not providing any further details about the situation. Despite the uncertainty, Andrade is still advertised to compete in Puerto Rico this weekend, where he's set to challenge for the WWC Universal Championship. Andrade's return to AEW earlier this year came as a surprise to many fans, but what's even more curious is that he still isn't listed on AEW's official roster page. Although he re-signed with the company prior to his comeback, there has been no visible update to reflect his current status, either internally or publicly. Now, Andrade's position in AEW remains up in the air. Whether this is part of a creative reset, a personal matter, or something else entirely remains unknown, and fans are now waiting to see if his Puerto Rico appearance even goes ahead as planned. Do you think AEW is keeping Andrade off TV for storyline reasons, or is there more happening behind the scenes? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Enjoying the video? A quick like goes a long way in helping us grow and deliver more wrestling news you care about. WWE fans are known for bringing creative and heartfelt signs to events, but one particular moment from this week's Raw in Perth, Australia stood out for all the right reasons, and it led to an emotional encounter between CM Punk and one of his longtime fans. During Punk's entrance, cameras caught a woman in the crowd visibly overcome with emotion. She held up a sign that read she had waited 19 years to see CM Punk before covering her face as tears began to fall. The shot quickly spread across social media, capturing just how much the moment meant to her. For Punk, the reaction didn't go unnoticed. After the show went off the air, he made it a point to meet the fan in person, a gesture that left the crowd favorite moment even more special. A fan later shared photos of the meeting on Instagram, writing a caption that perfectly summed up her experience and gratitude toward Punk. Moments like these highlight why CM Punk continues to connect so deeply with his audience, blending nostalgia, authenticity, and genuine appreciation for those who have supported him over the years. After a quick recap of last week's NXT vs TNA showdown, Ricky Saints made his way to the ring and called out Trick Williams for bailing on him in the men's elimination match at NXT vs TNA showdown. Moments later, Trick appeared on the big screen and fired back, saying it wasn't his fault that Ricky couldn't get the job done last week. The comment, however, caught fans off guard, especially since Trick Williams had just lost the TNA Championship to Mike Santana a few days earlier. The line has left fans genuinely puzzled, questioning whether the NXT creative team had knowledge of TNA's Bound for Glory plans before scripting the pre-taped episode. All signs point to the creative team not knowing the plans, because if they did, why would they include such a reference in a pre-recorded episode, especially knowing that Trick would lose the TNA title to Mike Santana. Later in the show, Trick launched a backstage attack on Ricky Saints, officially confirming that their NXT Championship match will take place at Halloween Havoc. So, the match is set, Trick Williams versus Ricky Saints for the NXT title, but the timing of that promo has left many wondering just how closely WWE and TNA are coordinating their crossover storytelling. The Speed Championship has finally been addressed on NXT as Ava announced that a tournament will determine the new men's champion. The first round matches are set. Axiom will take on Shawn Legacy, while Jasper Troy will face TNA's Zachary Wentz. The winners of those matches will meet in the next round, with the eventual victor challenging El Grande Americano. With the Speed Championship now officially becoming an NXT title, it appears El Grande Americano's reign might be nearing its end. The title change seems likely, especially given that his run has never been prominently acknowledged on NXT television. At TNA Bound for Glory, fans witnessed an emotional farewell as the Hardy Boys faced the Dudley Boys one final time in what appeared to be the official retirement match for the Dudleys. It wasn't about star ratings or technical perfection, it was purely nostalgia, history, and two legendary teams closing the chapter on one of wrestling's greatest rivalries. The event also featured a standout bout between Javon Evans and Leon Slater, which was on its way to becoming a potential Match of the Year contender until DarkState interfered, costing fans a definitive finish. On NXT, a backstage segment followed up on that moment, featuring Javon and Leon alongside the Hardy Boys. The Hardys advised the young stars to ignore DarkState's antics, pointing out that the attack was meant as a message to them. The segment hinted at a possible 8-man tag team showdown, with the Hardys teaming with Javon and Leon against DarkState, but for now, it's confirmed that DarkState will challenge the Hardy Boys for the NXT tag team titles in a rematch at Halloween Havoc. Adding to the excitement, Santino Marella announced that next week's NXT will feature Channing Stacks Lorenzo challenging X-Division champion Leon Slater for the title, a match that promises plenty of fast-paced action. For the first time in years, Matt Cardona stepped back into a WWE ring, facing Josh Briggs in a match that carried a mix of nostalgia and curiosity. Briggs, representing NXT, made it clear from the start that his goal was to send Cardona back to TNA with a few new bruises. In what many fans saw as a missed opportunity, WWE opted not to use Cardona's iconic Woo 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 Zack Ryder theme, instead introducing him with his current entrance music. Even so, the crowd was firmly behind Cardona, welcoming him with large cheers throughout the match. Inside the ring, the chemistry between the two was clear. Briggs moved impressively for his size, while Cardona's experience and adaptability helped keep the pace steady and action smooth. The match started with a straightforward rhythm, but picked up noticeably in its second half as both men began trading near falls and heavier offense. In the end, after weathering several of Cardona's signature shots, Briggs caught him with a huge running boot that secured the victory. While Cardona didn't leave with the win, his return marked a noteworthy moment, a reminder of how far he's come since his WWE departure, and proof that the crowd hasn't forgotten him. Tonight's segment made it official. Lainey Reed has joined Fatal Influence, replacing Jasmine Nix, who has now exited WWE. From a storyline perspective, the move fits perfectly. The build-up had been unfolding for weeks, and Lainey's involvement in helping Jacy Jayne retain the title all but confirmed her eventual inclusion. The addition of Lainey Reed brings fresh potential to the group, and her character seems well suited for the Fatal Influence dynamic. With this change, the faction could be heading toward an intriguing new chapter on NXT. Dr. Wagner Jr. picked up a solid win over Lexis King in a competitive match that kept the crowd engaged from start to finish. The real story, however, unfolded afterward when Ethan Page made his way to the ring. It was then announced that at Halloween Havoc, the North American Championship will be on the line in a Day of the Dead match, Ethan Page versus Dr. Wagner Jr. While the exact stipulation remains unclear, the name appears to draw inspiration from traditional Mexican celebrations. More details are expected to be revealed by NXT in the coming weeks. Blake Monroe scored a hard-fought win over Zaria in what turned out to be an impressive match between the two. Their in-ring chemistry stood out, and the finish was particularly clever. Blake used a hidden hair clip, waiting for the perfect moment before driving it at Zaria's throat to secure the victory. The spot looked brutal and effective. It's worth noting that Sol Ruca distracted the referee during the sequence, which played a role in the outcome. Throughout the night and in recent weeks, NXT has continued to tease growing tension between Sol and Zaria. However, for now, their friendship seems intact. Ruca even gave up her spot in the night's Battle Royal to Zaria as a show of support, a gesture that may delay the inevitable split. Zaria has the presence and power to be a true monster in NXT, but lately she hasn't come across as a genuine threat to anyone. The ongoing partnership with Sol Ruca has softened her edge, keeping her from reaching her full potential. It feels like the right time for that alliance to end, allowing Zaria to rediscover her ruthless side and remind everyone just how dominant and dangerous she can be. The triple threat tag team match featuring Chase U, The Culling, and Hank and Tank ended in chaos when OTM made their return and attacked everyone in the ring, forcing the match to end in a disqualification. The surprise return of OTM received a strong reaction from the crowd, marking their comeback as a major talking point of the night. Interestingly, the finish raised some eyebrows, as triple threat matches are typically contested under no disqualification rules. Despite that confusion, OTM's dominant return clearly reestablishes them as a force to watch in NXT's tag team division. The main event of this week's NXT featured a 20-woman battle royal to determine the next #1 contender for Jacy Jayne's NXT Women's Championship, with competitors from both NXT and TNA entering the fray. From the opening bell, chaos reigned as every woman went on the attack. Alliances briefly formed but quickly broke apart as everyone realized it was truly every competitor for herself. Eliminations came at scattered intervals, thinning the field without any single dominant performer taking control, a factor that kept the ending unpredictable. In the final stretch, the action came down to Kendall Gray, Jordan Grace, Izzy Dame, and Tatum Paxley. Dame eliminated Gray, then moments later took herself and Grace out of the ring in a chaotic exchange, handing Paxley the victory and a future title shot against Jacy Jayne. The match also delivered a few notable surprises. Former WWE star Alicia Fox, now competing under her TNA name Victoria Crawford, made her appearance, with commentary acknowledging her WWE past but avoiding the Alicia Fox name. Fans also got a brief Meta 4 reunion with Lash legend and Mara Sade teaming up during the chaos. Carmen Petrovich made her return to NXT television after months of absence, while Zaria's elimination stood out for the wrong reasons. She eliminated herself after jumping out to help Sol Ruca, who was attacked by Blake Monroe. Instead of simply exiting under the ropes to avoid elimination, Zaria's misstep cost her the match, marking an unforced and costly error that may hint at the brewing tension in her storyline with Ruca. How did this week's NXT land for you? The show had plenty of moving parts, from the 20-woman battle royal to the surprise returns and big announcements, but which segment or match stood out the most in your eyes? And if any of our subscribers know exactly what a Day of the Dead match is, drop a comment below and fill the rest of us in. For all of our subscribers, don't miss the 9 a.m. Eastern video we dropped earlier today.